How many books did I rate 5 stars this year? Hi friends, I'm Jen. Welcome and welcome back to Pages in Chaos. And I gave 14 books a 5-star rating this year. That is completely unheard of. I am very stingy with my 5-star ratings, and yet somehow I was able to get 14 5 stars this year. So I figured I'd just go over a little bit about the books that I gave 5 stars to. So the first book that I rated 5 stars to was The Wish Tree by Katherine Applegate. And if you've been around for a while, you know that I absolutely love Katherine Applegate. So this is a middle grade book from the perspective of this oak tree in this town where every year they pin these wishes onto the oak tree as part of a yearly tradition. And one year a new family, an immigrant family, moves in onto the other side of the wish tree, and the wish tree tells their perspective about what's happening in the town and how the town isn't exactly welcoming to this new family and just how to navigate that. And there's a whole backstory intertwined into these two families that live on either side of the tree, and it is just so beautifully written. I loved it. The next book was Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston, and this is the first in a series, and I absolutely love this book. So this is about Amari, who knows that her brother, who is missing, isn't actually missing. He's out there somewhere, and she gets a letter inviting her to this summer program with the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs, and this is like a summer camp to teach kids how to use their magical abilities. And think of this as like Harry Potter meets Divergent type of situation. When she goes on stage and figures out what her superpower is, she finds out she's a magician who is not so very welcome in the supernatural world. And this just goes through her struggles of dealing with being an outcast as a magician. I just absolutely love this, and some of these scenes in here were just so heartbreaking. There was a scene in here where somebody wrote something in graffiti on her wall, and it was just like heartbreaking to read her reaction to that. But I definitely recommend this series. So far I've only read the first two. The third one's taking a little bit longer to come in from the library, I guess because that's how popular it is. The next book was a graphic novel, and this is Katie and the Cat Sitter. This is the first in a series, and I absolutely love this. This was so adorable. This was about Katie, who's trying to raise money to go to summer camp with her friend. So she gets a job cat sitting for her neighbor, and it turns out that things start happening when she's cat sitting these 217 cats. Things are strange, and she thinks that her neighbor might be the supervillain that is terrorizing the city. So this was just so adorable. There is, I believe, 3 in the series, and I can't wait to pick up the rest. The next book is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, and this just got me into my Abby Jimenez era. I absolutely love this book, and I cannot wait to read every single one of her books. So far, I've read 3. But this was absolutely a 5-star without a doubt. There was no question. So this is about Alexis, who is this fancy ER doctor from a prominent family. They have big plans for her. She doesn't want to follow through with those plans. She's happy with just being an ER doctor. And then she meets Daniel, who is a carpenter, who has baby goats and a dog that turns out is a very bad hunting dog, but it is just so adorable. It is like, I don't know how to explain it. And the thing that I love about Abby Jimenez is, yes, it is a funny book. It is a romance book. There's a little bit of spice in here, but she tackles mental health. I believe this one dealt with domestic abuse. Yeah, domestic abuse, emotional abuse. There's some that deal with anxiety. Like, I just absolutely love the way Abby Jimenez handles those situations in her books. And there is a scene with a selfie light. If you know, you know. But definitely recommend Abby Jimenez's books. The next book that I thought was an absolute 5-star read was Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This was my first Brandon Sanderson, and my plan for 2025 is to pick up more of his books. I know that this is part of a whole world building, even though this is a standalone. And I know a lot of people are saying to pick up Mistborn, but I am very happy that I picked up Tress as my very first Brandon Sanderson. So this is about Tress, who is on this little island where nobody leaves, and her friend Charlie is actually sent away by his father, and she goes on, stows away on a pirate ship to go find him. And I just absolutely love everything about this book. There's a talking rat in here. I mean, she just gets in down and dirty with these pirates on this ship. This is just such a great adventure, and I absolutely recommend this without a doubt. The next was The Tea Dragon Society. This is a graphic novel, first in a series, and I absolutely fell in love with this. And when I read this book, I absolutely said to myself that I wish tea dragons were a real thing, because this was just so lovely. This was like a warm hug, and I cannot recommend this enough. So this is about Greta, who learns about tea dragons and wants to learn more about them. So she winds up spending time with Eric and Ezekiel, who are these two caretakers for tea dragons, and it's just so adorable and lovely, and I can't wait to finish the series. The next book that I picked up and absolutely gave 5 stars to, this was actually a 5-star prediction of mine, was The Only Plane in the Sky by Garrett M. Graff. And this was an oral history of 9/11. And I tandem read this with the audio because the audio had real recordings. It was a full cast. This just broke my heart. So again, if you've been around for a while, you know that I'm from New York. You know that I've experienced 9/11 firsthand with family members and with friends that were in the city when this happened. I was a junior in high school, but the way Garrett M. Graff captures what happens, it's just so heartbreaking, and like I can't recommend this enough. The hardcover has pictures in it, and it's just like the most heartbreaking story, but yet 5 stars because he captures these people's thoughts, the widows, the children who were kids when it happened. Just everything about this book is amazing. He did such a great job writing this book. Go figure, another Abby Jimenez. And this was the 3rd in the companion series for Part of Your World, Just for the Summer. And I absolutely loved this. I wasn't so sure at first. I wasn't ready to give it 5 stars until I got to the ending of the book. So this was about Emma, who thinks she's cursed, and she meets Justin, who also thinks he's cursed, because both of them, every time they date somebody, when they break up, the people that they break up with, the next person that they find winds up being the person that they marry. So they decide to have a little pact that they're going to date each other so that when they officially break up, each one of them will find the person that they're meant to be with in their next relationship. This was just so adorable. There's a little twist at the end. Again, I'm not sure if I was supposed to figure out that little twist early on. And if I was, then I was just bad at it. But like, absolutely, absolutely love this book. The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana is just so adorable. So this is a little cozy fantasy romance. And this is about Mika, who knows that she's a witch, and she's part of this coven of witches that don't meet very often, and they don't spend a lot of time in the same place because it is very dangerous for witches with this amount of power to be in the same place for very long. And she winds up answering an advertisement to become the caretaker of these 3 little girls who are witches, and they need to learn how to handle their power. And it was just so adorable, and I absolutely loved this book. The next book that I gave 5 stars to, and again, this was another 5-star prediction, was No Plans to Fall by Kiri Patterson. This was actually her debut romance, and it's a sweet small town romance. This is like the epitome of a Hallmark romance, and I absolutely loved this book. So this was about Marissa, who at some fall festival meets Scott, and they think it's just like this one-time meeting. And even though she just like absolutely loves the way he smells, and you know, their first date goes great, she knows that she's not going on a second date. Like, she's somebody who's notorious for not going on second dates with people. Until it turns out that he is now the new person in charge at her job, and so they are constantly thrown together. And then there's this little pact that they make. She's going to help him navigate this small little town and kind of fit in to help him with a task that he has with his job. I absolutely love this. To me, this was like a version of the show Heart of Dixie, even though, like, you know, it's lawyers and he's male, but it just like gave me those vibes, and that is one of my comfort shows. So I cannot wait to see what else Carrie Patterson writes and what else she comes up with. The next book that I gave 5 stars to was another graphic novel called Garlic and the Vampire. Absolutely love this. Garlic is this anxiety-ridden garlic bulb who is sent on this adventure to try to figure out this newly moved in vampire into the village. Is he a danger? And if he is, because she's a garlic bulb and vampires are repelled by garlic, she is going to fight him and she's going to exile him. And this was just such an adorable read. And anybody that suffers with anxiety can definitely relate to the things that she goes through in this book. I absolutely love this. Next up is a memoir by James Herriot, All Creatures Great and Small. This is actually the first 2 of his memoirs in one published work, because the U.S. publishing combines, I believe there's 8 of them, and they combined them in the U.S. publishing into 5 books. But I absolutely found this so adorable. I love the show that's on PBS, and I've watched the show up until its current season. Season 5 is coming out sometime this year. And I just wanted books with those vibes. And I didn't know at the time that James Herriot actually wrote his memoir. So the show is about his life as a veterinarian in this little town in Great Britain, Yorkshire Dales, and he's originally from Scotland. So it's all about the things that he goes through as this small town vet. This starts off in the 30s, and the show goes into currently they're in World War II. So I'm not sure. I'm going to assume that his books are going to follow the same trajectory, but I can't wait to pick up his book. So there's a lot of heartbreaking moments. There's a lot of funny anecdotes in here. And James Herriot actually writes his memoirs in a way that you don't feel like you're reading a nonfiction book. It is very storytelling, and I absolutely loved it. The next book that I gave 5 stars to is actually a book that I just finished right before Christmas, and that was The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Ally Carter. I absolutely loved this. This was a genre blend of mystery and romance, and this was just like the perfect fast read. I absolutely loved it. It gave me Clue vibes. If you love enemies to lovers, close proximity, like this is the book for you. So this is about Maggie and Ethan, and they both get a very weird invitation to this holiday party that is supposedly hosted by their biggest fan, and it turns out to be one of the most world's famous and well-known and well-loved authors. And all of these people are invited to this house, and it turns out that the author, what is her name? Eleanor Ashley disappears. So these two go on a little adventure to try to figure out the mystery. Did she disappear as a part of like a Christmas plot with a Clue vibe where they have to figure out the mystery, or did she actually disappear and something very wrong happened? And I just absolutely loved this. Now, the last book that I read and gave 5 stars to for the year 2024 is Pleading the Fish. This was the last book in the series that I have been buddy reading with the Comfy Cozy Book Club, and I think this was the perfect ending to this series. Now, there's some spoilers ahead, so if you haven't read the series or you do not want the spoilers, please just skip ahead, because yeah. So Everly is on a mission to figure out how to break her family curse where the Swan women can never fall in love and get married because their partners and their significant others experience an early death. And now that she has accepted Grady's proposal and they're planning this wedding, she is determined to not let that happen, because she does not want Grady's son, Denver, to be without parents because his mother has already passed. So I think the way they did this was perfect. She goes and she reaches out to the local historian to find out where their curse originated from and more about her family history. And then the historian turns up dead. And now she's not only trying to figure out the origins of her family curse, but also who would have it out for the historian. I think it was just an amazing end to the series. The epilogue was multiple parts, and it gave me all the feels, and I absolutely loved the way Bree Baker ended this series. Well, I know that was a very long list and a lot of books to give 5 stars to, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you've read any of these and you also gave them 5 stars, or if you are intrigued by any of these, let me know down in the comments. And also just let me know how your reading went for the year 2024. That's all I have for now. Bye.